Hello, everyone. Michael Jordan fans are the best. And today we're going to be talking about what's wrong with LeBron James fans. And we're going to do a little bit of a playoff prediction. But first, let's welcome the panel. Hoop God, how are you doing today?
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. Man, I'm doing great. Ready to talk some sports.
Awesome. Nick, NMB Sports, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me as always.
Angry Old Hoops, how are you? You look like you're having a fabulous morning reading and drinking.
Oh, I'm sorry. One second. I was just listening to Beethoven, catching up on a little upside down reading. I grew up with Beethoven, you know. I told everyone he was going to be the bomb before anyone else even knew.
Hey, yo, he's a prophet.
And then we have Robin from Sports and Fitness Rants. How are you?
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody out there? Everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to everybody, man. I'm ready to roll. Let's do it, fellas.
Awesome. So, Hoop God, we'll start off with you. What is one thing that you think is wrong with LeBron James fans, or what do you think is something that they are delusional about?
So let's just get right into this. Now, before Clutch Sports started compensating these particular gentlemen in sports media, LeBron fans really had no precedent. I mean, they had no platform to try to push these narratives that he's the greatest player of all time. Now, the reason I'm saying that is Shannon Sharp has been getting called out like aggressively on Twitter for his 2012 tweet, which stated, greatest basketball players of all time, God, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. And then he ends the hashtag Go Lakers. What I find very interesting is this. LeBron James had two MVPs at the time of that tweet. Kobe Bryant only had one. So we fast forward to 2017 on Undisputed. Now, somehow Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was number one, Michael Jordan was number two, and LeBron was number three. Kobe somehow dropped to ninth. So I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, that's just one instance. Then I look at Nick Wright. He even had Michael Jordan at number one. I believe he had Kobe around 5 or 6, but he didn't have LeBron in there. Fast forward to today. These clutch checks started running in. Now, all of a sudden, they just catapult LeBron up to number one. I'm like, wait a minute. What exactly did these other guys do to move down when LeBron still hasn't even caught them in rings? And I'm just using rings as the all-time greats because I know that's what they play for. So I'm like, okay. They get their talking points from these guys because I can legitimately tell you when I'm listening to one of these LeBron fans speaking, they're not bringing their own information. They're just regurgitating what they heard Shannon Sharp say, what they've heard Nick Wright say, Colin Cowherd, and whoever the other ones that sprinkled out among the mainstream media. So when I hear that, and then I actually challenge them, once they can't address the conversation, that's when they go to the personal attacks. So just in summary, LeBron fans and their delusions, it's justifiable only because they're getting it from people who are paid to push the propaganda. So that's my issue with them. And when I see that, I just start laughing because I'm like, okay, yeah, I know you haven't did any research. You're just regurgitating the narrative. So yeah, I'm gonna just leave this conversation alone. So yeah, that's what I got to spill on that.
Nick, what do you got to say about what Hoop God said, and what's the things about what makes LeBron James fans delusional? What do you think is the case with that?
Yeah, I have to admit I'm a little out of touch with the current day media. I don't watch a lot of ESPN and that kind of stuff. So I guess it does feel a little astroturf, but like that's just their job, right? So I don't have like a strong opinion on that one way or the other. I mean he's probably right. I'm not doubting that, but my main pet peeve has to come with the debates I've had and the argumentation that people provide for LeBron. Ultimately, what drives me crazy is the accumulation argument. That drives me absolutely nuts. They point to like how many times he's achieved things over his 21, 22-year career. That just drives me crazy. I don't think it's a good argument. I just think it's weak. I think just because you do something for a long time it should be applauded, but it doesn't impress me when we have this GOAT argument, right? So that's my personal one, is just the accumulation argument. When I have these debates with people, that's personally like where I'm coming from. That's something that drives me crazy with LeBron fans. But obviously they can have that opinion, but I hate the accumulation argument versus Jordan's peak. That's my personal. And there's probably several layers, right? He can shoot threes better. He can do this better. Like, I just don't think he's that pedigree type of player in terms of his career. He's only led the league twice in any statistical category ever. Only twice. One time in points, one time in assists, right? That's it. Like, it just the accumulation versus peak argument, that's my personal delusion that I wanted to point out.
So real fast before we get to AOH, Pierre Lynch has super chatted me $2. He says, "Hey Dart, how are you? I'm doing great. I'm in the middle of moving. I look like I'm a spy outside of my hotel right now because I would have just sat on outside, but I'm in my car again because it's about to rain, and I don't want to wake my kids up since it's the middle of the morning here. But otherwise, I'm doing great. I'm living in paradise, so can't be much better than that. Anyway, AOH, what do you have to say about what these guys had to say and your thoughts on the subject?"
I think it's a bit of a misnomer. I'm just gonna say misnomer all day. Can I do that?
Makes you sound smarter.
On a very basic level, it bothers me that LeBron fans don't bother to know what they're talking about before they engage in an argument. The type of a person that you are to not even care about gathering facts before entering a conversation bothers me. And, it goes beyond the fact that they haven't watched the old games. They haven't watched the skill set of the old guys, and they don't even watch today's games, it seems like. So you're arguing based on an idea that you like today's NBA. But then they go beyond that and will flat out lie. Like, they will say things that have not happened and say it with a straight face. In fact, you see these guys photoshopping things that never happened just to make themselves feel better. Like, you see all these pictures of like LeBron dunking on Jordan, even though they never played together. I'm like, do these things make you feel better in your fantasy world? And why is it? And so what's disturbing about that is, like, why would anyone want to live in a fantasy world rather than the reality of basketball? I can think of a specific example that I've wanted to do a video about a long time ago. And this goes to another problem I have with LeBron fans. They represent the people who would rather have an excuse than just get the job done. As long as there's some sort of an excuse. And remember, of course you remember when LeBron James looked like his family had been slaughtered in front of him at the end of that Celtics game, and he went to his knees and all that jazz. and instead of being embarrassed, LeBron people came out with these things about, well, look, of course he's upset. Look what happened when Jordan would get fouled. The refs would overturn it for him. And they show a clip of this referee during Jordan's Wizard years who was actually being condescending to Jordan, saying, I believe you, Michael. But what they don't understand about the context is that the ref was saying, fuck off. They're like, well, I believe you, but I still called the foul. Live with it. Tough crap. And they don't even understand that happened. And they're using it as an example in their favor. And why do they have to sound like they're mimicking that girl from, what were those movies with the band camp girl? In this one time in band camp,
American Pie,
Michael Jordan did this one time in the 80s. Michael Jordan traveled. And so it's okay for LeBron to take 8 steps on every single drive today.
No.
And LeBron's lying. That's why I opened up with pretending to read an upside down book and say that I was friends with Beethoven. He gets caught lying. Why aren't you people ashamed of him? Like, if you guys caught me lying, and instead of me saying, my bad, that's embarrassing, I shouldn't have done that, I just doubled down on my lie. I would expect you guys not to take me seriously and probably not want to associate with me because I would not be a very high quality human being. Instead, these people are rallying around someone like that. It disturbs me on the societal level, not just the basketball level.
Have you seen the AI videos coming out of LeBron?
Oh God, I'm staying the fuck away from AI as much as possible.
Well, it's like LeBron saying, like you were talking about, like making shit up about where he's been and what he saw and what he predicted. It's pretty funny.
Real fast, USC Trojan, anyone else that's in here, you may be new to the live streams where we're multi-streaming across all of our channels. However, please put who you're super chatting in the front. That way we understand who you're actually super chatting so they can address you. But I guess AOH, since you're still there, do you want to just address the Lakers Nation's YouTube page is on the LeBron on payroll, expose the Fanuc, $4.99 super chat to somebody from USC Trojans. Do you have anything to say about that? It's more of a
These things that sound like they should be complete conspiracies are backed up with evidence. You see this craziness enough times that instead of it being absurd, you have to think, okay, maybe they really are on the payroll, because there's just no explanation for people saying things that simply aren't true. Especially the old announcers who played the game. They know what's coming out of their mouths is not the truth, and they're saying it anyway.
Absolutely. Robin, what's your take on everything that we've been talking about and just the subject at hand?
Yeah, no, you guys have been right on the money with everything you guys have said so far in regards to the LeBron James fan club. I mean, listen, man, we have literally segments on YouTube channels just based off of the LeBron James fan club and the idiotic things that they've said over the years. When Nick talks about having these debates with, these people and the things that they say in these debates, the problem is they're getting these things from the guys on the mainstream TV. So even though some of us true basketball fans don't really appreciate or respect what they're saying on ESPN or Fox Sports or some of these other networks, a lot of the quote unquote mainstream fans, right? The fans of some of these players, because I told you, they're not fans of necessarily NBA or basketball. They're fans of a particular player. So they literally will watch these guys, and whatever they say, they'll take it as the truth, whether it's the truth or not. So when we think about, the overall talking about the fans right now, what are they doing now? They're not holding these guys to the standard. So we're talking about LeBron James and the fans. They never hold LeBron James to the standard. So when he walks off the court early with 3 minutes to go on the clock, his fans don't care about these things. They literally do not care. It has no impact on them one way or another, or how they feel about LeBron James or the responsibility that he should be owning up to. Like my man AOH was saying, he never want to takes the onus for these things. So when we talk about his lack of leadership and things of that nature, his fans are not holding him accountable for the actions that he's been doing. We're talking about the super teams. They're literally, even LeBron James right now is on his podcast trying to argue how all of his teams are now all of a sudden not super teams now. This is the audacity of this man, and his fans don't care because they're all going to start believing the same things. They came out with the Michael Jordan doesn't have a left hand thing. And they were really trying to say this was a thing. People were really trying to say, oh yeah, Michael Jordan couldn't use his left hand. Meanwhile, anybody that watched the game of basketball, watched basketball in general, knows that Michael Jordan had literally no weaknesses to his game, but these are the fan bases that we have today. And it's not just with LeBron James fans. I told you, it's the fans today. You guys mentioned earlier about the lack of research that they're now willing to do. So if they hear something, it's funny. We'll have a YouTube channel. We're small. We're nobodies. We'll make a video. They don't believe us, but they believe the other guys no matter what they say. Why? Because they have that platform, and that's what we're standing up to. So it doesn't matter what these guys say. They don't even have they don't even want to do the research, but they'll argue that we don't know the game. Meanwhile, these guys have made millions of dollars on TV telling lies. So like you were saying, Nick, you try to debate someone now. You're not even debating basketball. You're debating against the narratives. You're debating against the lies. You're not even having a basketball debate anymore. They're talking about LeBron James is a great father and he's a great husband. He does all this stuff, for the people all of a sudden. But meanwhile, those very people are not holding him to that standard that you should be holding this guy to if you want to get behind somebody, you want to be a fan of somebody. So his fan base, to me, I don't understand, because, like I said, they try to make it not just about the game of basketball, but then when you talk about those other things, the lack of sportsmanship, walking off the court early, the super teams, having those very fans ejected from the games, when you talk about those things, the antics, like my man AOA said in Boston, this guy was dancing all over the court. You would have thought that somebody was murdered out there. They don't hold this man accountable for any of those actions, man. And that's one of my biggest problems with those guys.
Yeah, and for me, I have to say with all of that is that a lot of his fans just seem to accept mediocrity as greatness. Because I think there's a big argument that you could say that Kobe Bryant or Steph Curry were greater players during their time, and they overlapped him on the front and back end. So when they go and they say that LeBron is the greatest of all time, they all had the same amount of statistical dominance. Kobe had more championships. Steph Curry had the same amount of championships, and you can argue that they were more influential than him. And whenever I hear anybody argue, I think Nick had alluded to this, is the longevity, is that he's great, or he's the greatest of all time specifically because he was very good for a long time. So how does very good is not the same as great. So if you're just very good, does that compound on top of itself and then becomes great? You know, I never really understood that argument. If you go, and he was great, I'm not saying he's not an all-time great in respect to the rest of the players in NBA history, but he's not in the GOAT argument, in my opinion. And the way that LeBron fans go and they argue longevity, oh, he's doing this in year 21. And it's just absolutely ridiculous to me, because I don't understand how, when you look at these things and you look at guys like Michael Jordan, who just dominated essentially in some categorization his entire career, whether it be individually or winning championships, literally dominate, meaning that you were better than everybody else in the league with the scoring titles or the steals titles or the championships. I never really understood how all of a sudden not doing that makes you the greatest of all time. It doesn't make sense to me. Does anyone have anything else to say, or do you guys want to do another round about this before we go into playoff predictions, or do you want?
I wanted to say one thing real quick, kind of something on the whole media thing, right? And people have heard me say this before. To me, the biggest difference between, like, on the off the court stuff, right? I talk a lot about on the court, but off the court, right? Jordan just felt like he just did, right? Like he just was that good, right? And everything, I've said this before, everything about LeBron feels planned, thought out. Everything has to look good when the cameras come around, and it ends up playing against him in the end. I think Angry Old Hoops fan touched on that, right? It ends up coming off as fake and disingenuous, right? And I've always hated that about LeBron. That's the biggest thing that just drives me crazy about him, is everything is there for the cameras and the way it looks, and everything has to come off and be palatable. And, you know, it's sort of the banana boat culture almost in a way, but off the court as an individual, right? Everything has to just like be perfect, and it ends up coming off as synthetic, right? It's just that, in terms of my off the court opinion, that's the one thing that just drives me crazy about LeBron. And he has these PR teams. He has guys probably saying, hey, write this, pay this guy to do that. Hey, can you not say negative things here, right? And that's what his fans do too. They always say, don't look at the turnovers, don't look at the losses, don't look at the bad things, right? Just look at what he's accumulated, right? And that kind of translates off the court. It's just everything has to be like palatable and G-rated, or however you want to put it, right? But it just comes off as just fake, and we don't like that. Like, we just want to see you so hungry to win. It doesn't matter what you'll do. We don't care what you look like. Just leave it all out there on the court, and it just comes off as fake. And that's the one thing that I just cannot get over about LeBron. It just drives me nuts.
It's impossibly perfect. You know, if you want to make it believable, then at least have somebody out there that doesn't agree. But like with everyone agreeing, then you got to be like, come on, what's going on here? Like, even us as MJ fans, and as popular as MJ fans, you at least had some people that were going after him. You know, it wasn't always one-sided. and you had to go after him because he was so great. But it's just not believable when absolutely nobody will criticize LeBron James. I mean, he's doing.
And even with MJ fans, right? Like, is MJ an asshole? Probably. Like, yeah, a little bit at least, right? Like, we admit a lot of these other things too, right? And it's just a totally different, right? I think you kind of mentioned it's a generational thing. It's just this whole PR fluff thing, right? I don't know how else to put it.
And what I like about MJ, see, he proved the critics wrong. LeBron has to buy the critics off. So he thinks that people with common sense can't see the forest through the trees. And that's another thing that ticks me off, not about him, but about his fan base. And especially, I call him Snitch Paul, aka Rich Paul. But that's my name for him. Because it's like AOH put up in 2018. Bro, as a man, just you got swept, man. Just take it, take it on face value. You didn't give it your all, you got swept. But no, you have to concoct this harebrained scheme to put Savannah scarf around your hand and say you basically play with a broken hand. In a 9-day span, from May 31st to what, June the 10th, all of a sudden now you got a broken hand. See, it's the little stuff like that. Like, no, I can't put you over a Kobe Bryant, a Magic Johnson, a Larry Bird. No, because those guys, they're not going to come up to the podium. Well, yeah, I got a broken. You know what they're going to say? Hey, it was my fault. I got to be better. We're going to get back next year and we're going to win. Those are the type of intangibles that I look for in a player. And when I have my all-time list, right, because I'm sorry, LeBron's 10th on my list. I don't care if nobody say, his fans can call me whatever. It don't bother me because I got thick skin. I tell them, like, because the first thing they want to do is talk about stats. And I already have it lined up. When they start talking about, well, LeBron went to 8 straight finals. Okay, where do you have Jerry West? Jerry West is not even in their top 10. But you want me to put LeBron in there because of his appearances. But then I say, well, what about Magic? Magic went to 9. He won 5. That means he won more than he lost. So now some of them, granted, will have Magic top 5. Some of them will have around 7 or 8. I mean, but it's still not consistent, right? Then they'll bring up all the statistical records. I think NMB Sports brought that up. I'm asking them, where's Wilt Chamberlain? Some of them will have Wilt 8th, 9th, but they won't have him and Wilt close together. And I'm like, okay, well, Wilt dominated the stat sheets more than LeBron did on a per-game season. Why is Wilt not up there? But then they'll get to the longevity. Like, okay, is defense not a part of longevity? I mean, Tim Duncan was making all defensive teams at 36, 37. LeBron ain't doing that. I'm like, clearly what Tim Duncan was doing was working. He won 5 championships. He beat LeBron twice. But then, Tim Duncan, he had a super team. I don't remember anybody calling the Spurs a super team in 07 or 2014 until they beat LeBron. Now we got to revise history. See, that is another problem I have with them because they're so inconsistent. It's whatever they need. It's like they'll say whatever they need to say to suit this flimsy narrative that they're trying to push. And as I said earlier, once they're out of excuses and narratives, that's when they'll go to the name calling and the petulant assault words like a third grader. And I'm like, I'm not finna engage in a rat pissing contest. If we can't talk basketball, we can just move on to something else.
Hoops God, the hand example bothers me so badly because that by itself should have had the media come crashing down on LeBron James mercilessly. Right. And if someone had done that back in the 80s or 90s, they would have absolutely just massacred whoever did that. And today they're like, oh God, that's terrible. And I can't say anything about it because it's the whole series. He's pushing himself up off the ground, even on his fingertips. He's slamming the ball. He's blocking with that hand. He's buttoning and unbuttoning his jacket and eating an apple and all the other dumb shit he does during press conferences. And now it's broken. Like, even if it was broken in the 90s, you don't walk out there going, look at my excuse. But that's only one.
No.
That one is terrible. But it's only one of a never-ending list of embarrassing crap he's done, and people still like him, which then makes me think, what's worse, him or the fan base or the media?
Hey, AOH, I want to add
real fast. Let me get through some of these super chats. For AOH, Poppy C808 says, for $4.99 says AOH is the cure to stage 4 terminal bronzexuals.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
go.
Oh no, I was gonna say what you mentioned about the injuries. Yeah, like it's Gary Payton, prime example.
Oh,
He had a
let me get
hairline
through this.
fracture.
Let me get
Oh
through
look,
this other one. And then Arizona anime fan for $10. It's either to Nick or AOH says no serious NHL fan believes Gordie Howe is the GOAT. They didn't believe it before Gretzky. They don't argue it now, yet for some reason the BB Gordie Howe LBJ is the GOAT. I believe it's for AOH or
I'm gonna
NB.
assume
It's
Gordie
definitely not
Howe
for
had
me.
like a very long career or something like that. I'm not a big NHL guy, but essentially Gordie Howe might statistically be really high across the board, but didn't have the same peak like a Gretzky did, I'm sure is the analogy there.
And there's one more that just came in from Retro Heat Check. Again, it's either to AOH or NMB. It says, shout outs to the panel. Appreciate you guys.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Retro Heat Check. Yep. So, but yeah, Hoop, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to get through these before they go away.
oh no, you good, man. Because yeah, I shout out to the chat, man. Yes, like you guys are doing due diligence down there. But no, AOH, I wanted to speak on what you mentioned about like in the 90s and the 80s, like those guys, they didn't broadcast or promote their injuries. Prime example, Gary Payton. People thought he had the right calf sleeve, just for a fashion statement, but no, he actually had a hairline fracture. But again, when you get to that stage, you never know when you're going to get back to the finals. So you got to put the uniform on and go out there and get the job done. And that's another thing about Shannon Sharpe that just you can tell that he's being paid and promoted because Shannon, you're a 3-time champion, 2 times with the Broncos, 1 time with the Ravens. You know what the standard is. So when I see him, you can look at a person's body language and tell they don't believe what they're saying. I'm thinking like, bro, you went to the Super Bowl, won, and you were like the epitome of a team player. Like not about me, but it's about we. But then you've transformed yourself into a stooge for a guy who religiously comes up short, and now you have to find ways to try to make excuses for him. We do not want to hear that. And I guarantee you, had somebody like Kobe Bryant or Steph Curry would have attempted something like that, they would have gotten lambasted for the rest of their entire career. We would never hear the end of it. But yeah, that's another one of my issues with that fan base because they never want to hold him accountable for his shortcomings. Like, nah, 2011, bro, that's on you. And I love Dirk. Dirk did what he's supposed to do. I love that series. But no, LeBron James, you came up short. Nobody made excuses for Dirk going against 3 superstars. So no, I don't want to hear it. No.
Robin, do you have anything to add about any of this?
I mean, listen, this always goes back to what I was talking about and that we all talk about, man. It's the standard that the fans don't want to uphold their own. Listen, like I said, it's not even just the LeBron James fans. It's about these fans in general today. Because once again, they don't hold their favorite player to the same standard as the other players. So whatever happens to their favorite player, we're talking about LeBron James right now. You guys are talking about all the things you guys are talking about are the excuses that LeBron James is allowed to make. Like you guys said, the media doesn't hold him to a standard. His own fans, I don't understand it. You can be a fan of LeBron James. I get that. But there's even video. You have, straight cold video of LeBron James taking 4 or 5 steps all over the court. And his fans will literally argue with you that it's a gather step and it's a gather step. This is what they keep arguing. They're in my comment section. I see it every day. They're like, yo, you guys are idiots, man. That's not a travel. He's allowed to take a gather step on the catch, then take 2-3 steps, then another gather on the release. That's not a trap. They hold this man to 0 standards. So he's allowed to come there to the press conference with the soft cast on his wrist. He's allowed to walk off the court early, like I mentioned earlier. He's allowed to have that crazy scene and jumping all over the place, going crazy. He's allowed to get the coaches fired, get these players traded behind their backs, hold the franchises hostage by making them sign him to max money, even though this man ain't played a lick of defense in 10 seasons. He can do all those things, and no one cares. His fans do not care. They're going to compare him to Michael Jordan, who was known for being one of the most competitive players and giving the effort. I've seen recent video of Christian Laettner. They were interviewing Christian Laettner, and he was talking about his time on the USA Dream Team. And you know what he remembered the most? Michael Jordan's effort in practice. That's the one thing that he took away from Michael Jordan. Now, you let me know who the hell is going to say that about LeBron James.
Yeah. one thing I want to add on too, and you know, my channel's about positivity, so I hate to say this about LeBron James fans, but um, the thing that kills me the most, and I really wanted to keep up with this podcast, with the Mind the Game podcast, the LeBron and JJ Redick butt kissing contest of who can kiss LeBron's butt better, LeBron himself or JJ Redick. And you know, LeBron's got some practice doing it. I don't know how you can do that really easily, but he can. And I just listening to some of the fans, a lot of the hate mail I got when I did a show on it. They went and they would just say, "Oh, how are you going to go and say that that's not true?" In respect to when he was talking about how just the multitude of things. Honestly, I'm kind of tired right now, but I made a whole video about it, if you want to check it out, just calling some stuff out about what he said, and they're like, "How can you contest that?" It's like, because I'm not a moron. It doesn't make any sense. It's just he's just contradicting himself, and it's there's no logic to what he's saying other than he said it. And then when I go and I contest that it might not be true or might be exaggerated, you know, they swarm me as if that I'm going against the word of God. And you know, that's one thing that annoys me about LeBron fans. It's like,
isn't
dude,
it
come on.
frightening how all you have to do now is say something and it's taken as truth? Like, you think that LeBron James will stop saying dumb stuff, but it's why he's not facing any consequences other than, you know, small channels like us. They're like, oh, LeBron James said this, it's true. It's frightening that no one even cares or takes the time or bothers to find out what the truth is or not.
Yeah, that's why he's trying to
Absolutely.
control the YouTube streets now, because he know that pressure is too much, and we know LeBron and pressure, they don't mix. It's like oil and water.
Look, if you guys, I don't know if you guys have to suffer through it too, but it's hard to avoid playing basketball with kids who now act like LeBron James or whatever we want to say it. But can you imagine these guys who get butt hurt so easy because they spend the entire time out there complaining? Can you imagine them actually being on LeBron's team with the way LeBron treats people? They would all be in fights constantly. They can't really believe that they like LeBron James, because LeBron James and his bad body language and his constant blaming, it would be a 1 hour fight and argument amongst the five of them instead of any basketball taking place at all.
Yo, you know,
Absolutely.
can I say something real quick?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yep. Real quick. Now, I was going to say, you know, there's this show called Seinfeld. You know, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of the show before. And there's a character in the show, George Costanza. And here's a famous line that, you know, a lot of people know. And he talks about, it can't be a lie if you believe it, right? He tells that to Jerry one time. And really the meaning of behind that quote is that George Costanza's character in the show is that his entire life is based off a lie. He creates all these false narratives, these false identities, all of these different scenarios. So what ends up happening is that oftentimes in his life during the show, he gets caught in these things, right? He doesn't know if he's an architect one day. He doesn't know who he is, right? So he was a marine biologist at one point. So when you think about LeBron James' current podcast right now is the George Costanza. So he's getting caught in the hypocrisy right now, because what you hear him say, it completely goes against and contradicts everything that the media is trying to tell us about his career and everything that we know to be true. So the show Seinfeld is not actuality. It's not reality, right? It's a fictional show. LeBron James's career has been fabricated off of the fictional narratives by the media and his fans. So they continue to talk about these things. This is why I always tell you, any LeBron James channel on YouTube, any fan page on Instagram or TikTok, whatever the case may be, the only way they'll be successful is to buy in and feed into those very narratives. So the only people they attract to those very channels and those pages are the same delusional LeBron James fans, these fake fans. They're not the real fans of basketball. So LeBron James right now is doing his best George Costanza on his podcast, because everything he says, we're able to throw it right back at him with all the other things. When they talk about he's not doing this or that, he's not a recruiter of players, and then you throw the old tweets up of him trying to ask Steve Nash to come to the Miami Heat. He really wanted to add Steve Nash to the 2011 Miami Heat. It's insane, man.
You know, I'll take that a step further because
Oh, Robin,
Castanza
don't forget he wanted Jamal Crawford too.
Castanza said the line of "It's not a lie if you believe it" when he was wearing a wig and pretending he wasn't bald, and he was actually, as a bald man, living the lie of having hair. He was rejecting a bald woman.
That's right.
That is LeBron James right there.
That's hilarious.
Wow. Real fast, let's get through a couple of these super chats. AOH got a super chat for 10 US dollars. Yeah, Gordie Howe played into his 50s, and before Gretzky, he held every record. No one called him the GOAT. The GOAT prior to Gretzky was Bobby Orr, who had an injury, short career. What do you have to say about that?
I believe it's a bit of a misnomer. I'm sorry, I can't stop fucking making fun of JJ. God damn, he's an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the super chat.
And then Robin, this is addressed to you. Y'all see the classless move LeBron pulled getting in Ja Morant's face at the end of a game they should have won easily. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I talked about that in my video. I mentioned that towards the end. This was once again after LeBron James was front running against the Memphis Grizzlies G League team. See, this is what I'm talking about when I talk on my channel about class. There's something called carrying yourself with the class. And LeBron James does not seem to have any class, but his fans don't care about class. They don't even know what class is. They think it's something that you go to when you're in school. They have no idea. They don't know what integrity is or honor or any of those kinds of things and how to carry yourself that way. But absolutely, at the end of that game, LeBron James does that, awkward looking dunk and almost falls down like he always does because he's always stumbling and bumbling out there. And then he gets in Ja Morant's face and he's laughing. And Ja Morant hasn't played a basketball game since 1995. But whatever, man.
Wait a minute. But if he got energy to do that, how come he can't play defense?
And they only won by 3 points. They won by 3 points against a team that didn't have any of their starters going. I mean, it's laughable. Like, the referees, the NBA must continue to carry LeBron James and his teams into these postseasons. This man, the Lakers had the 6th best odds coming into the season. And now they have been fighting for a play-in spot essentially the entire season. They've been the 9th or 10th seed. And this is what I'm always alluding to with the LeBron James fans. Let's continue with the LeBron James fans because they'll always talk about how LeBron James is the underdog oftentimes in these playoff series in the finals. But why is that? It's due to LeBron James and his teams, not living up to the standard. So coming into the season, his team will be the favorite to win the championship or the second favorite to win the championship. But then what happens? During the season, they underachieve, they underperform, and then all of a sudden, they're not the favorites anymore. And then his fans have more of an excuse. LeBron James has more of an excuse. I wasn't the favorite to win, so what do you want me to do?
I only saw that clip briefly, but didn't Ja kind of playfully shove him back like there was buddy? I'm like,
yeah, he did.
LeBron was just a douchebag against your team, and all you can do is be like, ha, that was cute, LeBron. I fucking hate today's NBA.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to real quick, AOH was saying about how, one thing about LeBron is he wants so much responsibility, right? He picks the coaches, the players. Again, back to this fake relationship thing, right? How much do players really like him, or are they just scared and nervous that they're going to get traded tomorrow if they make LeBron mad or don't do what he wants? Or, that's one of the other things I don't really like is, if I had to pick, I like the players getting, as much money as possible or whatever, right? I'm okay with the players fighting for their whatever they can get, right? Piece of the pie. I'm okay with that. But whenever you just take over front offices like that, you get more blame, right? You get more blame. It's more responsibility on you. And that's another thing is everyone around him, they have to like him, right? Or else they're gone tomorrow, like bad product, right? So that I wanted to comment on that real quick.
Yeah. What's somebody about the
I was going to say, how you got paid back in the day? You got your teammates paid by winning. That's how all these other guys got paid back in the day. If you was on a winning team, man, you got paid, man. It wasn't about the stat. Now you could just put up some stats and get paid and stuff, man. Back in the day, you had to win.
We should ask
Yeah,
we
I
should
think
ask some people to put in the chat some specific examples of analysts who tried to tell the truth and disappeared. Like I can remember Grant Hill being a little bit critical of LeBron James, and all of a sudden, oh, Grant Hill, who makes a great announcer, great analyst, great on camera. Oh, where did he go? That one springs to mind. He's not the only one. Or you can be Reggie Miller and just like suck LeBron off with every other word and have a long career on ESPN or TNT or whatever it is. Okay, dog, you need to get off me now.
On a sidebar with Reggie Miller, I don't know if this is not exactly to do with LeBron, but when he was interviewing Larry Bird and Isaiah Thomas, and Larry Bird was being Larry Bird, just really subtle and not really over the top, and he was trying to drag him out to say all these things. Because I remember the one question, he's like, "Well, what'd you think about when Isaiah said the racial thing to you?" He's like, "I didn't care," and he's like, "Oh, but Reggie Miller, I mean, he's a showman, so I get it, but they got to sell LeBron, but that is a good point, is that a lot of you don't really hear very critical people of LeBron widely, at least on mainstream media. Yeah. Real fast, I want to shout out the chat just for being here. Thank you for sharing everything within the chat. I guess Aaron Adams is asking for a shout out, so I'll shout him out. Aaron Adams, welcome. And everyone else. If I shouted out everyone, it would be 430 people, and that would be a whole show. Anyway.
Shout out to everybody.
but yeah. But thank you very much, everybody. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we start talking about the playoffs? In respect to LeBron James and his delusional fans. Michael Watts gave AOH a $2 super chat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Hoop God, what do you think about this upcoming NBA playoffs? Is there specifically, is there any upsets that you see coming out early within the playoffs?
The Boston Celtics on paper and even watching them, I mean, other than maybe just a few games here and there where I think they may have had a few mental lapses. I would expect them to get to the finals. However, I wouldn't be totally caught off guard if somebody did knock them off. Now, in the Western Conference, I got the Denver Nuggets, of course, but I'm not counting out the Mavericks because Luka and Kyrie, like I think they're in sync now, how they're playing. Of course, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, they're starting to become respectable. OKC, I like them. The Kings, I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome the injury bug, but I like the way Mike Brown. I like the way he coaches and his players buy into the coaching. Outside of one player he had back in 2009, not here nor there. Who else? I'm rooting for the Warriors, but it's like, man, like they'll play great. Like they demolished the Lakers, right? But then they ultimately came up short against the Pelicans. But I understand, like they're not the Warriors we're accustomed to seeing, and it's just like, man,
if their threes aren't on, they will never get past the free throw disparity. I mean, their threes have to be really on.
I agree, and AOH, that's the thing. Like, you live by the three, you die by the three, and that's like, those shots only gonna fall for so long. Then that's when you got to start doing those other things that don't show up on the stat sheet. Which I'm not saying that they can't, because they've proven that they could, i.e., the 2022 run. But the Western Conference, man, it's just some monsters out there. Like, I don't know, man. But those are
real.
Oh, go ahead, Dark.
No, I just wanted to say real fast. Jason the Kid says LeBron fans are the best. How dare you? They can't be the best because Michael Jordan fans are the best. Sorry, I just had to put that out there. Anyway, I'm sorry. Did you have anything more to say, Hoop God?
No, that was all I had for that one.
Nick, what you got to say about what Hoop God said, and then also is there any upsets that you see coming within the
Well,
playoffs?
I'll take what he said at the end there, that the West, again, is probably top to bottom a lot tougher. So I think if we had an upset, it'd probably come out of the West, I would imagine. So me and you did the preseason stream where we picked the Western Conference. Overall, I did pretty good. I was wrong on Phoenix. I had the Kings a little too high. I had Golden State a little too high, and then I was wrong about the Clippers, right? Which I think, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? Those teams were a lot higher than I think most people thought they'd finish. But OKC just seems like something could go wrong there. A little bit of a slower pace of basketball, a bad matchup, right? I think them and Minnesota are pretty, depending on how it works, right? The Kings, I could easily see the Kings beating one of those teams in the first round, right? Again, I think I'm looking forward to another Mavs Clippers matchup. I think that's going to be good TV. We'll see if Kawhi can play the whole series or not, or what's up with him. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, the play-ins I think will be a little interesting. I'd like to see the Lakers get bounced, right? I think we all would. The Warriors, I think what you said is pretty realistic. I don't see them going very far, even if they get out of the play-in, right? So, yeah, I don't know, but it's going to be good TV, man. I haven't really been paying attention to the East too much. But yeah, it looks like the Boston's probably going to run away with that one. If I had to guess, they're just playing good basketball, right? So that's my 2 cents on it.
Real fast. I got a super chat from Pierre for $2. Thank you very much, sir. Steph doesn't get any calls. I don't, if you mean that he doesn't get any calls for him or against him, I'm not sure, but I mean, I think he gets general superstar treatment.
He's a 3-point shooter. You just don't get as many calls, right? I think that's what AOH is kind of referencing.
Yeah, but I almost added on at the end there. Steph does drive, and he has some pretty impressive drives, and I've seen him take hits that would have gotten LeBron James 3 whistles in his favor. I mean, the 6'2", 185-pound guy has to take more abuse than the 6'9", 250 dude. That bothers me. I don't want to encourage blowing the whistle on everything, but when you let a little dude like Steph Curry drive and get hit, but you won't let LeBron James have a palm on his hip, no, sorry, it's not okay.
You know, now that you say that, one thing that reminded me, I kind of think about where I kind of started not liking LeBron. You remember how he started the head thing? Whenever he drive, like he's 6'9", 250, built like a linebacker, and he drive to the lane, and he would just throw his head back like that.
Oh,
I was just, when you said that, it reminded me, I think that might have been the genesis of when I was just like, I don't really like this guy that much. That and obviously the decision, but I remember I always hated that. It's like, how are you the most physically dominant guy out there, and you're running to the lane, and then it's like, oh, like you got shot or something in the chest, like. Yeah, it was just I remember that now that you mentioned that, it made me think of that.
So which one is easier to do? Develop your skill set and get counters among counters so you can be a more diverse scorer, or just be lazy and just start flopping and looking for the rest to build.
Well, you can look at the way they attack.
It doesn't
You can look
flop.
at the way that they drive, that they don't actually have an intention of making the basket. Like you can tell the difference.
Right.
You can tell the difference when it's going to be just trying to get a foul, and there's actually not really much of a plan of making the ball go in. And if it does, that's a bonus. I think that's disrespectful to the game of basketball.
But to me, that just shows a lack of integrity. It's like if you have to junk up the game to try to like use conniving, like I'm sorry, like that's another reason why I couldn't put James Harden up there. Not to digress, like. All that flopping, like, come on, man. Like, the mainstream viewer does not want to see that. Like, when you have consumers out there, they don't want to see you junking up the game. They want to see great basketball. And when I see that, it just makes me cringe. Like, bro, y'all comparing this dude to Michael Jordan, Bird, and Kobe, man.
And this brings us back to the theme of today. you'll have LeBron fans say, well, it's part of the game. Even if it is part of the game, that's not a good thing. You know what? Strive to be better instead of continuously lowering expectations to fit around whoever you've decided to like.
Robin, do you have anything to add on this?
I'll just talk about the playoffs real quick, because for me, when I think about the postseason right now, what comes immediately to my mind is that there's a lot of guys got something to prove out there, man. There's a lot of guys, man, for me, that got something to prove, man, when you talk about the James Hardens of the world. I mean, let's just think about the Clippers, just the Clippers. We're talking about guys like Kawhi Leonard. He's got something to prove to me. We got someone like James Harden. He got something to prove. Russell Westbrook, you tell me he ain't got nothing to prove? He wants to earn back his reputation that was trash playing with LeBron James. He got something to prove. How about Paul George, who they would call Pandemic P? That entire team got something to prove to me in the postseason, going against those Dallas Mavericks, man. They got something to prove. Luka got something to prove. Kyrie Irving got something to prove. They got something to prove as a duo. They getting paid the money. Let's see what's going to happen. We think about guys like Joel Embiid. You think he got nothing to prove? He got something to prove, man. They gave him that bogus MVP last season, man, because he was crying and moaning for it. So they obliged. And what happened in the postseason? He goofed it up again. He Joel Embiided it again in the postseason. And now he's got the injuries again. And here goes Joel Embiid, the guy who told us he was wrestling lions in Africa. This dude can't stay on the court and play 60 games, man. Get the hell out of here, man. So when we think about Jason Tatum, he's got something to prove. Are you going to tell me right now that Jason Tatum lose to a Jimmy Butler Miami Heat team again? This man, listen, the Celtics got a lot of pressure, man. These got Jaylen Brown. You tell me he ain't got something to prove? All the goddamn money that they paid this man, Jaylen Brown, these guys got something to prove, man. I want to see my New York Knicks going against the Indiana Pacers in the first round, possibly against Tyrese Halliburton, my man Jalen Brunson, man. The Knicks could be a surprise team in the Eastern Conference, depending on who they match up with, because everyone in the East, to me, these guys are goofing around. Giannis, I don't know what he's going to do. Last year, he was load managing in the postseason, Giannis. So he's got something to prove. Remember, they lost to a number 8 seed, Miami Heat, as the number 1 seed. So the Bucks and Giannis have something to prove, right? I didn't even mention that Kevin Durant and the Bradley Beal, Devin Booker super team Phoenix Suns. You're going to tell me they don't have something to prove in the postseason right now? So all of these guys, these superstar players, they have a lot to prove in the postseason, man. So that's really what I want to see come this postseason, because guys like SGA, he don't got nothing really to prove as much as some of these other guys, man. So I'm really hyped to see this.
See, unlike today's media, let me actually go against someone on the panel, and I usually agree with Robin 100%. I'm actually depressed about the fact that a lot of the guys he mentioned, I don't think they're truly bothered by whether or not they prove anything. Their contract's going to come. They're still going to have a podcast. They're still going to have their advertising. They're not going to really suffer any consequences. No one's going to put any of them into the GOAT debate. They're getting praise constantly, even without winning. I don't think that it matters to them the way that it used to matter. Maybe I'm wrong, but like, I'd like to get excited about what the Celtics could do. And as dominant as they are, I have this weird feeling that it's very possible they're going to crash. You shouldn't feel that way about a team that dominant.
Real fast, AOH, you got 2 super chats that came in. One from Jimmy James C. AOH, love all your breakdowns. It's for $4.99. Go treat yourself to 1 gallon of California gas. You've earned it.
I feel like California gas is a bit of a misnomer.
Take some notes. I think that's also a sidebar. The funniest thing is when he'll go and he'll start taking notes when he's talking with LeBron. Like I just think it's funny. Anyway, you got another super chat for $20 from Killa K B8 or 88. I can't really read it from here. AOH, as a Lakers fan, I can't stand watching LeBron run my team, and even more the disrespect and hate you can tell he clearly has for Kobe, and nobody wants to talk about it. Get this cancer away from my team, please. Are you going to be able to get the cancer away from the Lakers, AOH?
Am I going to? I wish I had that kind of power. I mean, when a dude doesn't show up to events that are tributes to Lakers franchise greats, and he's still being called a franchise great, and everybody just lets him get away with it. I mean, I would be angry. He could, listen, LeBron could hate Kobe Bryant, you still should have the decency to show up out of respect to an event for one of your franchise's greats. It doesn't matter if he hated him or liked him. Act like a decent human being. He can't do that. LeBron is not a decent human being.
AOH, versus what everyone else was saying, I know you mentioned a little bit what Robin was talking about, but playoff predictions. Do you see anybody outside of the Celtics that you were mentioning possibly being as an upset, losing?
I'm not letting myself get that emotionally invested because it's been a season of everybody blowing each other out left and right. You know, I don't know how to take anyone seriously. I guess the Nuggets. I mean, the Nuggets you can take pretty seriously. And I just want the Lakers out immediately so I can stop worrying about the refs helping them past the Nuggets, and then I'll enjoy it. Get that BS out of the way, and I'll cheer for everybody. I just want to see good basketball.
All right. Robin, I know that you were talking about people having to prove things and the Knicks might go far. I don't remember specifically if you said somebody, if there's any upset that you could see coming.
Well, listen, like Nick was saying earlier, you guys did the Western Conference preview before the season. Well, we did the Eastern Conference preview. And if you remember, I was talking about the Orlando Magic. I called them. I called it before the season. I said they're going to be the surprise team in the Eastern Conference. Not that they're going to win a championship or they'll go to the NBA Finals or even the Eastern Conference Finals. What I said that they were going to finish in a playoff spot, not a play-in a certified playoff spot. They have the chance to end up in a top 3 seed right now. So the Orlando Magic, to me, have been right on the money is what I predicted from the beginning of the season. And they could be a team that you really don't want to see in the first round because a team like the Orlando Magic is unpredictable. Those are the difficult teams to match up with sometimes in the first round. So maybe the Orlando Magic. But like I said, the New York Knicks, to me, the Eastern Conference is right there. If a guy like a Jalen Brunson, the way that he's been on a tear, if he can carry that into the postseason and the Knicks can stay healthy around him, they don't have Julius Randle, they can make some noise in that Eastern Conference.
I had OKC finishing second in our preseason. They were my surprise team, so I was pretty right on the money with that one as well.
You guys see how the Lakers managed to avoid the Kings, who have had their number all year?
Yeah.
Instead, it's going to be the Warriors and the Kings battling it out again.
I hope that Kevin Durant and the Suns got to play LeBron James and the Lakers in the first play-in, man. They might have to match up with each other.
Well, what do you guys think? Do you guys take the Suns seriously?
No, but that means we get to clown somebody. Someone's getting called out at the end of that damn series. Either Kevin Durant and his super team or LeBron James and his team that he don't want to give the reins over to Anthony Davis.
Bro, they have Nurkic. That's no super team. Nurkic doesn't belong on a basketball court.
I just wanted to say, talking about our playoff predictions, I should get fired, even though this is my. I had the most terrible predictions.
Let's hear it.
I had the Spurs in the playoffs. What? I had okay. Now to be fair, Wemby did do really well individually, but I was hoping that somehow they'd bring it together. It was really just bias, just fandom going into there. But I had some terrible picks I put in there.
Your fantasy team.
I wanted to, but hey, I came in third.
You did good, man.
So
because Wembanyama carry your ass.
Yep.
I
came in third out of 20 with my. Yep. But for some of the playoff upsets that I have, one I think that we're just talking about is the Knicks and the Pacers. I think that the Pacers might upset the Knicks if it lines out like that. I think that might be locked in at this point. It might not be. I think that they might be able to pull it off, especially with Randall being out. Although they've carried the team that far with Randall being injured for more than half the season. So who knows? I could see the Bucks getting upset by either the Heat or the Sixers.
I don't think that's
especially with Embiid being
Hey,
back.
Dart, I don't think that's an upset because when they traded Drew Holiday, I told them Drew does things that don't show up on the stat sheets. Now, Dame, yeah, that's the popular vote. You know, that's the the Hollywood or whatever, but he's not bringing any defensive impact whatsoever.
I that was another one of my picks, is that the Bucks would be a lot lower. But they're number 2 seed, I believe, right
Yeah.
now. But I had, because of that, because Drew Holiday specifically. And then on the West, I hate to say it, but I think that the Lakers, if they go and they end up facing the Wolves, if they beat the Suns, I think that they might just let the Lakers ride out into the playoffs to a certain level. But that's not really an upset. I think that's kind of a given to what we've been saying. But I think that could happen. Otherwise, yeah, I think the Magic could beat the Cavaliers as it stands now too. And as was said, the Celtics, I'm not really. They make deep playoff runs, but they can't get it done. I don't really have faith that they can get it done, even though they've had a dominant regular season at that.
Is Gobert
What's
a
up?
good match for AD, since neither of them really like physicality? I mean, does that work out well for AD?
Yeah, of course it
I
does.
guess.
Well, they
Yeah,
could just
because of
dance
the
with each
skill
other, yeah.
game. That's AD's favor, I suppose.
Listen, the bottom, Anthony Davis is still one of the best players in the entire Western Conference. Anthony Davis playing at his best. It's hard to stop him. That's the point here. See, we were talking about earlier. Nobody wants to give the other players that LeBron James plays with any light, any shine. So what it seems as if Anthony Davis is a soft, frail guy who's not that good at basketball. Yes, Anthony Davis may be frail. Yes, Anthony Davis does miss games. But when Anthony Davis is balling, that dude is really, really good. Those are the honest truth behind his game. So that's the problem that AOH is talking about. If they're going to get assistance through free throws and the way the game is going to be officiated, and you have Anthony Davis and LeBron James going with the supporting cast that they keep telling us is not that great, the Lakers are a formidable team if they're going to play consistently. The problem is, though, for LeBron James-led teams, is that they're not consistent, which is why they struggle on the road all season, and which is why they need the assistance through free throws, lack of foul calls, things of that nature. So, yes, they might get to the second round, perhaps, maybe even get to the Western Conference Finals again. The problem is going to be for the Lakers is that they're not a good team. They're just not a good team. So they're going to end up getting beat regardless. I don't think that the Nuggets have anything to worry about from the Lakers, because once again, look at last season. The Nuggets were not a season championship team like they are now. So now they're riding high. They have the confidence. They know how to get it done now. So they're going to be tougher to beat when we think about those things. When you think about LeBron James in crunch time, look what happened last season. The Lakers could have won that series 4-0. But what happened? LeBron James fumbling and bumbling around. He's taking off-balance shots. He's getting stripped by guys like Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray. He's making the right play at the end of the game. They'll keep telling you. Once again, more excuse for LeBron James. But if they're going to keep putting the ball in his hands at the end of games and not Anthony Davis' hands, the Lakers ain't going to win nothing. So it don't matter.
It's let's be clear. I wasn't crapping on AD, because it's unquestionable that how AD goes is how the Lakers go. And it's weird that people don't acknowledge that. It's obvious that he's way more important than LeBron James is. And they will continue to give the credit to LeBron James. All I was saying about AD is that if you were to use the strategy of bodying him hard a few times, it will discourage him, as it would discourage LeBron if you were allowed to do that to him. Now, for everybody talking trash about AD like being injured all the time, AD's played more than LeBron at this point over the course of the Lakers tenure. And you're not as worried about it, because if LeBron sits out, the Lakers are still okay. So how do you get all upset when AD's out because the Lakers suffer, and then clearly the Lakers don't suffer when LeBron's out, and you still think that I don't know how you think it. Some people still say that he is the leader and the most important person on the Lakers. And then they trashed him against Jokic last year. He was against Jokic. How do you think the Lakers would have done if they hadn't had AD doing as well as AD did against the Nuggets? I mean, it would have just been an absolute thrashing.
So I wanted to echo what Sports and Fitness Rants was saying about AD. See, this is something else that they refuse to talk about. They know it exists, but they refuse to talk about it because it'll further expose LeBron James and his lack of offensive production as far as creating easier opportunities for Anthony Davis. Even if you go look it up on Basketball Reference, Anthony Davis is creating the majority of his offense. Now, they love to tell us that LeBron James allegedly makes his teammates better, which is a flat out lie. Because if you look at Magic Johnson, prime example, Kareem, Byron Scott, James Worthy, all of them had their highest point production and just their overall production with Magic because he was creating offense. See, LeBron James, his style of play is predictable basketball, just drive and kick out. That's not creating an easier offense for your team. Like the defense, if we know this, the defense definitely knows this. So I'm looking at so not only does Anthony Davis have to be the rim protector, he has to be the best defender on the team. He has to anchor the defense. Then you expect him to come down and get his own offensive game going. I'm like, see, that's where a Rajon Rondo to me would benefit that team because Rondo would know how to get AD the ball in the spots that he wants to dominate and make it easier. Prime example, when they played in New Orleans. But see, LeBron James wants to go out here, fill up the stat sheets, and then when it starts to hit the fourth quarter, okay, AD, you take over. You ain't even got this man in a rhythm. You don't have him in a flow, but you expect him to just go out here and deliver. Like, no, I'm sorry. That's why when I see them trying to drag Anthony Davis, I always go look. I'm looking at what he's doing on the defensive side first, and then I'm looking at, okay, LeBron, are you even creating easier offense for AD, or are you just giving him the ball? Because that's his idea of making teammates better. I'm gonna just give you the ball. Like, man, get out of here with that.
Yeah, unless you guys have more to say about it, I wanted to ask what you guys think the finals prediction, or what are your finals predictions, and who's going to win and who's going to lose, unless you all have anything else to add about what was said. All right, Hoopgod, what's your finals prediction?
Finals predictions, I see the Nuggets getting back. The popular vote would definitely be Denver versus Boston. However, I'm not a believer in Tatum just yet, so it could be Denver versus Milwaukee. If they get a break, it could be Denver versus Miami, because we know playoff Jimmy, that is a real thing. So it's a multitude of them. But right now, my pick to come out of the West definitely would be Denver. And not to digress, but Nikola Jokic is also my MVP because remember, this is the bigger, stronger, faster era, yet Nikola Jokic is dominating the bigger, stronger, faster guys. That's all.
You don't see all that muscle? Nick, what's your finals prediction?
I got Mavs Boston in the finals. Mavs win it in 6. That's my bias pick. I probably go Denver again. I just think playoff basketball, they're so good in the half court. They play good enough defense too. So I Denver, Dallas, I think seeing one of those two teams come out of the West, if I could pick my team just as a bias pick. Look, the Mavs are playing good right now, right? And this has been one of the things about Dallas recently is towards the end of the year, Luka's worn out. He's been having to carry the team just to barely get in the playoffs or something. This year does feel like the momentum is with us going into the playoffs. These guys are going to get to rest for 4, 5, 6 days. Or whatever it is, right? So a week of rest, guys are playing good. They seem to be coming together at the right time. They've made some good defensive and rebounding changes. I don't think teams are going to be headhunting Luka like they did, like people remember in that Phoenix series, right? So we'll see, right? If I had to sell people on the Mavs, I would say they're playing at their best at the right time, right? And that's kind of how I would pitch it. But man, Boston's just been so complete this year. It's just really hard to not see them coming out of the East. I'm just going to chalk it up and just make the pick for Boston coming out of the East.
All right, AOH, what's your take?
I'm just looking at the East, and I'm just shocked at how I don't take anyone seriously. Like, you have to consider that the Heat just through heart are going to do what they did before. And God, the East. And I hope you're right about the Mavericks. It would be kind of entertaining to see how they would go, how they would play in the playoffs. How do you feel about the Mavericks matching up against the Lakers?
Oh, yeah, I'd be all for that. I think that's great for us. That'd be a great matchup.
I remember Luka was headhunting LeBron.
Yeah, we could do that.
Remember?
We could definitely switch it up on him. I don't think we have a problem with that.
Yeah. LeBron will never, ever, ever have to guard Luka.
No, never.
But he's bigger, stronger, and faster.
Yeah, that's what his fans keep telling us. I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? You're bigger, stronger, faster, and you get embarrassed by Jason Terry? What does that mean?
It's hard for me not to pick the Nuggets out of the West just because of their composure. You know, when I see Jokic with the ball, it looks, I feel like the right thing's going to happen. And with some of these other stars, you can just see them blundering.
I just want to add something real fast because we've been joking about bigger, stronger, faster. That is the laziest way to approach things. The only time that stuff matters, that outside of like a weightlifting competition, which this still applies to what I'm about to say, is that technique trumps all. When that stuff matters is when you're on an equal technical or skilled playing ground. Size matters when you're the best in the world. When you're not as good as somebody else, being bigger, stronger, or faster doesn't mean anything, because you got guys like Luka or Jokic just smoking these guys that can jump twice as high as them and run exaggeratingly twice as fast as them. How are they winning? Because it doesn't matter as much. It matters if you're on an equal playing ground, but if these guys can just smoke you in skill, it doesn't matter. So that when people say that stuff, it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
basketball is a skill game. Don't forget that.
Yeah. And I want to add to what you were saying. I don't even think they comprehend the meaning of strength. Okay. They'll take it as a blanket statement and try to distort it into their own reality, when in actuality, the objective is to play to your strength, but you're playing to your strength is what do you do best? And that's what Nikola Jokic does. He plays to what he does best. He doesn't go out there and try to cross over a player that's 5 inches shorter than him. No, you know what he does? He gives you 2 dribbles and he turns around and pulls up because he can make that shot. And it's the most efficient shot to take, rather than getting at the top of the key, trying to ISO on a 6'2" guard like Tony Parker. Like, why would you do that? Like they don't even understand what they're talking about when they use that term, bigger, stronger, faster. But yet he doesn't even replicate that. Like he does the complete opposite. That's just my take on that.
Yep. And then so just to clarify, AOH, what's your finals prediction?
I don't know. Denver out of the West. Shit.
The 76ers.
No, I don't believe in it. Is Embiid going to play or not? He's back, sort of, kind of.
He's
yeah, but I don't believe in him. I don't. So it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll pick the Heat again.
All right, Robin, what's your finals prediction?
I think before the season, I picked the Denver Nuggets to repeat. So, I mean, I don't see any reason why I should change it, to another team. I believe I had them beating the Milwaukee Bucks, I want to say, in the NBA Finals. Now, obviously, this was a preseason selection. And once again, if I recall, I remember saying that, it really is going to depend on how guys like Damian Lillard and Giannis and how things come together. And, like my man Hoop Guy said earlier, they lost Drew Holiday and how that was going to affect their team and overall things like that. So, for me, the Milwaukee Bucks, I have no confidence in the Milwaukee Bucks. I know my man AOH, he ain't got confidence in anybody right now. He only has confidence in the Denver Nuggets, apparently. But I hear you. I'm going to go with the New York Knicks, man. I think the New York Knicks, last year, I thought the New York Knicks had the chance to make some noise, and they ended up getting beat by the Miami Heat, like my man AOH is picking the Miami Heat. Because, you see, the thing about the Miami Heat that's always interesting is because, once again, we started off the show about the narratives of LeBron James fans. So if you think about back to that, someone like an Eric Spoelstra, who gets no credit as being a quality coach, LeBron James never played for a good coach. But look at somehow, some way, Eric Spoelstra has the Miami Heat always competitive. The one thing that you know for certain about the Miami Heat is that they're going to be competitive. You're not just going to beat them, right? Or they're not going to beat themselves. You're going to have to beat them. So we must once again give Eric Spoelstra some credit because he seems to make it work every postseason. You don't want to play the Miami Heat in the first round or the second round or in the Eastern Conference Finals. I guarantee you the Boston Celtics do not want to see the Miami Heat or Jimmy Butler. They better pray this man does not play. So I'm going to go with the Knicks out east, man, versus the Denver Nuggets. And I think that would be interesting. I think the Denver Nuggets will probably win again.
So I'm gonna throw a curveball on this. I think that the Lakers are gonna get to the finals.
Oh,
How dare you on
conspiracy
this
theory
show?
confirmed.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to act like a delusional LeBron James fan. No, I don't think
Hey,
they're getting
they're
that.
gonna get further than we think.
They are.
I think they'll probably get to the second round. Out barring injuries or something. But I mean, maybe they'll push them that far. I don't think they would actually get there though. If it was an actual basketball game, the refs might get them there. But outside of that, no, I got the Nuggets. I got and like y'all are saying, I like the Heat just because I think everything else is a crapshoot. If I had to say anybody other than the Heat, my bias says the Sixers. But I again, I do not have faith in them. But that's just me. And then otherwise, I'd have to say Boston getting there because they've had their postseason success lately as well. But I still have the Nuggets winning it. But yeah.
If the Lakers get bounced out of the play-in, we got to come on here and have a virtual party, a little celebration with everybody.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that'd be hilarious. I think they have to. I think they automatically make the playoffs. It just depends who they face, the first or second seed. Unless they lose, maybe if they lose today, that is different. I'm not sure what the. I'm not sure.
I
if
think
they're
the
playing
top
today.
10 have been sealed in the West.
Yeah, the Lakers are in the play, but if
Yeah.
they win, if they lose their first matchup as like the 7th or 8th seed, then they have to win. They have to lose 2 times. If they lose once, they're not knocked out. They would have to lose again to whoever lost the other matchup between the playing teams. But if they win that matchup, then they're into the playoffs. But that's why I was saying earlier, they might have to play the Phoenix Suns in the first playing game to see who's in or has to play again. So to me, like I said, that's hilarious because, like I said, Kevin Durant, who wanted off Brooklyn, right, who cried and moaned. It says anybody, AOH, you said earlier, what happened to some of these announcers that went against the grain? Has anybody seen Steve Nash? Where's Steve Nash at? My man was coaching the Brooklyn Nets. Everything was fine and dandy. And all of a sudden, Steve Nash is long gone. We don't know where this man is. Someone better get a dateline out on my man Steve Nash. But all of a sudden, he's gone. So Kevin Durant asked off the Brooklyn Nets. He sabotages that whole team, right? And he was supposed to lead them somewhere, and now he goes to the Phoenix Suns. This is the only reason why I call it a super team, because don't people compare Devin Booker to Kobe Bryant? I hear a lot of people referencing Devin Booker and Kobe Bryant in the same sentence.
Come on.
Isn't Bradley Beal supposed to be one of the great shooting guards of this era? This is when they get exposed, man. To me, these guys are trying to build something there similar to a super team, and it's going to all come crashing down for one of these teams.
I'm not shitting on Bradley Beal, but how does he get into that conversation just because he's a good basketball player? What's he ever done?
Just scored a lot of points for a couple years.
Who doesn't do that now?
Yeah,
Right, that's what I'm saying. It exposes this era when Bradley Beal in the 90s is not one of the top shooting guards, man. He's not sniffing all-star games and things like that. But in this era, Bradley Beal's leading a team getting paid all this money.
I'm not sure you can say KD sabotaged the Nets compared to Harden and Kyrie. I mean, they started.
They all sabotaged it. They're all supposed to be leaders, right? Kevin Durant was there first.
I don't know how Doc Rivers gets another coaching opportunity and Steve Nash doesn't deserve a second chance.
Somebody find Steve Nash.
Hey, so fitness. So, bro, you said something that we've spoken on TikTok about the Suns, and don't get me wrong, I do consider them a super team on paper. Like when you look at their talent now. I said this when they lost Chris Paul. I said, who is going to play make on those off-script plays, right? Like when the play breaks down.
Eric Gordon.
Who's going to be able to anticipate, those plays for the other guys who can't create their own shot? Everybody not named Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, or Kevin Durant. And I said, see, that's where a point guard's importance comes into play because he can get those other guys going. I'm not saying Devin Booker can't do it, but when I've watched him, it's like he's wearing 2 different hats. It's like he's trying to be point guard book, but he knows at his core, at his roots, you're a shooting guard. So it's kind of like there's like conflicting issues going on because when you get to the fourth quarter, now it's like you've been accustomed to being the man, but you also got somebody else over here who can pretty much produce the same way you can in the fourth quarter. So how are you guys going to be able to divvy it up amongst each other. And then you forget you got another great on-ball scorer, Bradley Beal. How are you going to keep him in rhythm? And when I saw that, I said, it looks good on paper, but without an actual floor general, I just don't see them getting far in the playoffs because there's only one basketball. And you got three guys who are dominant in creating their own offense. That's going to take away from somebody. And then the egos are going to come into play if they're losing. And let's just say Bradley Beal is not getting enough touches and enough volume to get his rhythm, which is what he needs. So it's like, okay, how are y'all going to manifest something great here? I'm just glad you brought that part up.
Hoop God, this isn't for you because you're not monetized on YouTube, but it was addressed to you. And it's not to me. So, and Hoop God 100 about AD and that Rondo take. The way AD scored in 20 was different with Rondo. Rondo made him better. LBJ gives him the ball sometimes. Do you want to add on to that at all?
Yeah. So what? And hey, thank you for that. What's his name? Poppy
C808.
Poppy C808. Okay. Hey, thank you for that, bro. Yeah. So when you go back and watch that, the 2020 Lakers, that's all we had to watch. So I was looking at things outside of who the media was trying to promote. And that's what I was telling people, like, just look how easy Rondo was getting AD in those pick and rolls. Like, look how easy Rondo was being able to create gravity because Rondo, ironically, was shooting well in the bubble. And it was opening up easier shots for Anthony Davis, which would also segue into him playing better defense because he has a point guard that can get him the ball in his scoring zones, and he's not having to do all this extra dribbling because I'm sorry, I don't want my big man dribbling the ball no more than 2 times. And if you got AD having to dribble 4 or 5, that's taking more energy out of him trying to create his own offense, which is going to take away from his defense. See, Rondo was actually facilitating that offense and getting AD the ball, and that was keeping him like locked in. That was keeping him involved because he had a good rhythm and a good flow. When he was expecting to get the ball, he got it. And that's the difference between a guy like LeBron who just wants to, okay, I'm going to just give you the ball on this play. Like, no, that's not putting him in a rhythm. And I think that's what a lot of guys don't understand. But, yeah, Poppy C08, I appreciate that, bro.
Do any of you have anything else you'd like to talk about before we take a call or two? I again, because I am vagrant right now, have only so much battery life. But do you guys want to talk about anything before we take any calls?
Pray for Luka to get that MVP, baby.
It's definitely coming. If not this season, the next one.
Robin or Hoop Guy, do you have something to pose to the panel?
No, I think we talked about a lot of good stuff, man. We covered a bunch of different angles, especially as it relates to the the playoffs and things like that. So yeah, I'm good with taking a caller.
I'm pretty much, we've covered everything. It was something I was thinking about for next week's topic. It slipped my mind. When it comes back to me, I'll let you know. But yeah, as far as for this one, like I'm good taking callers.
I just want to say one thing as it relates to like the Phoenix Suns real quick. When we were talking about them, my man Hoop Guy was talking about on paper, that quote unquote on paper, man. For a lot of people, see, this is where some of these fans, they overhype these people up a little bit or they put these, they hype these guys up, but then they don't hold them to that standard. So I've heard people recently, we know over the last, couple of years or so, there's been a big, discussion or talk about skills, right? Skills. These players today are more skilled, things of that nature. The term skills, I said we've used it so much, it's lost its meaning now. I don't even know what people are talking about anymore as it relates to skills. It always seems to just relate to scoring the basketball or the offensive side of the ball. But I've heard people recently talk about Kevin Durant being the most skilled player in NBA's history, the most skilled player. So as far as like the offensive side of the ball. So if that's the case, you have Kevin Durant on your team. He's the most skilled player in NBA's history on your team. Now you have a guy like a Devin Booker who people are comparing to Kobe Bryant in certain aspects, the way that he plays the game and things of that nature. And now you add a Bradley Beal who can drop 40, 50 points on you. Yeah, is he going to do it as consistently as he might have used to 5-6 seasons ago? Maybe not. But he still has the ability to potential to do these things. That's why, like I said, these guys, they have kind of like a lot of pressure on them. Or are they going to live up to the pressure? Are these guys going to perform? Or are we going to have one of these playoff scenarios where like, oh, yeah, these guys didn't show up again. This guy does it. And then once again, what they do? they keep pushing it back. You ever notice how every year it'll be, if they do it this season, this. If they do it this year, they just keep pushing it back. So they don't do it this season. Then next season comes, they say, if they win this year, these guys will be that. Then they don't win it. The next season comes. If they do it this year, what are we doing here?
Yep. They're giving themselves a way out. Like when they have to lead with if, they know subconsciously they don't believe that. That's the like, okay, well, if it doesn't happen, see, we can say, well, see, we said if, like, nah, if you truly believe this, stand on it. Just say it.
Word.
Don't leave no room for no wiggle room. That's when I hear people doing that, I'm like, okay, so you truly don't believe that. Because if you have to lead with a hypothetical, well, if they can get it done, like, well, why do you have to lead with a hypothetical? Just say, hey, I believe this. This is what's gonna happen. Like, it should just be cut and dry. Like, I don't think the Denver Nuggets said, if we can win the championship, people are going to acknowledge us. Like, no, I truly believe the Denver Nuggets came in last season saying, we're going to win the chip this year. We're going to go out. We're going to out-execute everybody. We're going to block out the media. And we're going to play great basketball. End results. They won the chip.
Word.
Dart said his mic's acting up. Just let people know they can go to my page if they he's gonna drop the link.
Yeah, I had a few guys asking about the link. I'm sending it to them now.
Technical difficulties on the set.
There it is. He just dropped it. And then are we able to let people in though?
Call them up.
Maybe you can let people in. Dart's gonna let people in, I guess, if they call in.
This guy said I'm capping when I said that no one labels skills as scoring only. What the hell are you talking about? And then he proceeds to label shot creating and finishing around the basket. That's scoring, you moron. What the hell are you talking about, man? You guys, I swear, sometimes when I read the comments, I try not to get too crazy, man. I try to keep the show moving, but I don't understand it, man. It makes no sense. You literally just contradicted yourself in your own comment. When people talk about the term skills now, they never talk about the defensive side of the ball. They never do. They never talk about rebounding as a skill, because if they did, then Kevin Durant would be nowhere near the most skilled players. Kevin Durant's damn near 7 feet tall and averages 7 rebounds a game. And that's insane to me. There's no skill from Kevin Durant in the rebounding of the basketball. Has Kevin Durant ever made a defensive team in an entire career in the softest era of NBA? So where are his defensive skills? Also, I've talked about many times, leadership is a skill. People go to learn how to become better leaders. You can hone a leadership skill. Kevin Durant has 0 leadership skills. Kevin Durant wants to be seen as one of the most skilled players of all time. He wants to be seen as a superstar. He wants to get the max money. But when it comes time to take the criticism, Kevin Durant's getting upset with guys. He's making burner accounts. He's going back and forth with the fans in the stands because he can't take the criticism like the leader's supposed to. So he'll leave Russell Westbrook high and dry, right? And let Russell Westbrook take all the blame because he can't win with Russell Westbrook. It's a joke, man.
Yeah, that's another reason why I have Bird over the both of them. I mean, you look at if we just put all 3 of those players, you would say, oh, LeBron's going to get 13 rebounds for what, a 4 or 5 year span. Kevin Durant, he should get 9 rebounds. Oh, Larry Bird, he maybe 7. It's the complete opposite. Larry Bird significantly out-rebounded these dudes in a much more defensive era where the paint was more packed. But you telling me you two dudes who are, quote-unquote, more athletic than him, y'all are underwhelming in the rebounding department? Because like you said, that's a skill. Like, you have to be able to want to do that. Like, you have to go out there and say, no, this is how I'm going to impact my team. And I don't see that from him. That's why I'm like, nah. And the leadership, Bird clears him in leadership. So no. None of these Gen Zs are ever going to convince me that those 2 guys are going to be over Larry Bird's small forward position. No.
I think.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, back.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you want to finish up what you were saying, and then YT Hoops is here if he has a question for us. But
yeah, that's all I have. That's all I have.
All right, welcome YT Hoops.
Hey guys, what's going on?
What's up, man?
What's up?
Not much. Do you have a question for the panel?
Yeah, sure. Where do you put Jokic all time? if he wins the MVP this year, making that his third, and wins the finals and finals MVP. Assuming clearly the best player in the finals, not a fluky MVP, finals MVP.
All right, Hoop God, what do you got to say about that?
I'm going to be completely 100% honest. Nikola Jokic, given the opportunity that they win this chip, goes back-to-back, which hasn't been done by a lot of teams. I think it's under 10 teams that went back-to-back. And then he gets a back-to-back finals MVP, which will give him 2. And then he wins a third NBA finals MVP. I'm going to have to give him strong consideration for top 10, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at everybody in the top 10, and then I'm going to have to evaluate them in that peak form. So I would say from 26 to 32. And I'm gonna just look at every last one of these players, and I'm gonna say, okay, this is what he did in this span. This is what he did in this span. And if somebody doesn't measure up, I'm gonna have to strongly consider moving them down and catapulting him up, because there's not a lot of players that go back to back, 3-time MVP, back to back Finals MVP, and win 2 championships to a franchise that has 0 championship credentials, 0. So that would just be my criteria, though. I'm not asking anybody else to agree with me.
All right, Nick, where would you have him?
Yeah, I mean, so I was trying to put out a video last week. I was going to do kind of like a ranking of my personal subjective top players ever, and I scrapped it because I just couldn't. It was so hard to like separate people, right? But the one thing, I mean, I will put it out eventually, but the one thing I kept coming to when I was ranking people is, once you clear a couple MVPs, you clear a couple championships, I think what really starts to separate people is how did they win? Like, how did they get their ring, right? Or how did they get their accomplishments, right? Like, and a good example is why, Dirk's 1 arguably is probably worth more than Durant's 2, right? How did you win it? And what did you do whenever you reached the mountain peak, and how many times did you reach the mountain peak, right? So I say that to say that Jokic has statistically, right, been very dominant. He assists, rebounds, points. He does it all. He has won without a quote unquote super team, right? He's Murray had an injury there, came back. Aaron Gordon, right, is maybe their next best player. There's a few other guys, right? He's won with a team in an era of quote unquote super teams largely, right? The 3 possibly could have been 4 straight MVPs if he wins this year, which he's probably edging out Luka objectively in the rankings for it. Again, it's a peak. It's this peak that is just hard to deny how good he was when he hit his stride. So I think I gotta probably put him above Dirk if he does that again. Unquestionably, he's definitely got to be top 25. I think if he does that again, I think without a doubt. Where do I put him exactly? If he does that again, he's probably 15 to 20, right? Maybe I move him up another notch or 2, but somewhere around there, I would think. If he wins another MVP, Finals MVP, etc., right? Whoever
Go ahead,
wants to go
Alex.
next.
Oh, I thought it glitched out.
What did you say? Come here.
I think the guys are misunderstanding what I said. I just said consideration. I didn't say he's top 10, guys. I just said I would consider it.
I apply what I've applied to some of the other arguments. The game has changed so much that I don't even like having these conversations about who is greater, because I can't measure what Jokic is capable of against the way that the game used to be played. Here's what I'll say positive about Jokic. I could see, being as how he is a skill-based player, that he could, out of a lot of today's greats, actually have success back then. The speed with which he makes decisions blows my mind. How quickly he sees a play developing, and the way that he can barely touch the ball and get the mid-range to go in, and his passing. But the same reason that I don't like the fact that LeBron James is getting praise for accumulating his assists and his rebounds. Well, the game isn't played the same way. People don't fight for rebounds anymore. And I have to apply that to Jokic. It doesn't mean Jokic isn't great, but I don't know what Jokic would have been like playing in the old basketball rules. I wish it wasn't like that. I would like to be able to measure LeBron James against real basketball rules without him playing the same rules that everybody else had to play by. I can't put LeBron James in the top 20.
On a sidebar, my mic is back, but on another sidebar, I was thinking about doing a video of who do I think would have been great playing Naismith ball with the old school. I don't know, it's kind of niche and might not go over well, but I was thinking about doing it. Anyway,
Real esoteric stuff there.
so some Rex like content. But anyway, Robin, what do you think about a Jokic? Where would you put him if he had done everything YT Hoops had said?
Well, listen, yo, Hoop guy, man, I love you to death, man. But listen, I ain't put him top 10 with no damn championship, no MVP. I'm not putting him top 10. I respect it. You know your stuff, man. So I respect you putting him top 10 if he does it. I ain't doing it though. For me, I would probably put him maybe like top 20 for me. I think he would crack a top 20 list for me. I would have to look at some things. But the main problem is, like my man AOH was saying, Nikola Jokic is an all-time great. I think that he could play in the 80s and the 90s. The problem is he didn't play in the 80s and the 90s. He's playing in this weak, soft era. So if we're going to hold the standard for the other players in this era, the other all-time greats, and we're going to hold the standard here, and we're going to make those comparisons from one era to another era, then Nikola Jokic is going to have that problem when you have these debates against those other great players. Against the guys of his era, the Joel Embiids, the Giannis's, the Karl Anthony Towns, the Rudy Goberts, the other big men of his era, yeah, they can't really sniff what Nikola Jokic is doing right now overall, and the consistent winning and the competitiveness of his team. Like you guys mentioned, he didn't need to build a super team, or, he doesn't need to load manage or flop around the court. His personality is such where you don't believe he's just playing for the money or the fame. He could care less about those things. So he seems to have all the things that we like as far as the intangibles of the guys from the past. The only thing he doesn't have is going against those guys of the past. I would have loved to see Nikola Jokic going against Patrick Ewing or David Robinson or Tim Duncan or Kevin Garnett or Hakeem Olajuwon or Moses Malone or Rick Smits or Alonzo Mourning or Dikembe Mutombo. Any one of these guys, not saying that Nikola Jokic would not be able to hold his own, but it would have been nice to see that, because then you can have a real argument as to where Nikola Jokic would rank all time versus some of those other players. When we talk about the lack of defense, I see people in the comments talking about lack of defense and things of that nature. This is what we're alluding to. Nikola Jokic may not necessarily be a bad defensive player. The problem is, though, once again, you're not being challenged, right? So it's not like you're going against these other great centers that are going to make you work for it on both sides of the ball. A lot of times these guys can rest on defense, right? Because defense is not emphasized that way. It's a different kind of game. There's no legit centers anymore. They're not banging into Nikola Jokic all game long. So the game is different. But I would probably put him somewhere in a top 20 position if that were to be the case. But like I said, I would have to really look at that and think about these things. Because to me, like I said, we have to keep everyone and keep the same energy, so to speak, like my man LeBron James would say. Let's keep the same energy for everybody out here. And we all know that this era has been exposed as being soft.
Hey, and let me add to this. Hey, Sports and Fitness Ranch, you're exactly right. Like, I'm not arguing nobody that says top 20, top 15 or whatever. I just wanted to be hyperbolic because, that fan base, they love to make hyperbolic statements and stuff like that. So, yeah, I just want to take that for a little bit. That's all.
Real fast, Pierre, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Okay. I just wanted to say for YT Hoops question, where would I put him? I don't know. He wouldn't be in my top 4. I don't think he'd be in my top 11 or 12 that I have as that list. But yeah, I think he'd be in my top 20 somewhere because, and for me, one of the guys and this is, maybe a slightly blasphemous being a Michael Jordan and 90s channel a lot of the time. But one guy that I personally don't put up so high is, and I think he'd be really close to him, would be Hakeem Olajuwon outside of the defense. But he'd have more MVPs. he'd have just as many championships, just as many Finals MVPs, and then he'd have a great stat line as well. So, and not to say that he'd be better, that he's
Stop your
better
Hakeem
than
Olajuwon slander, Dart. Stop it.
I know Robin loves Hakeem, so but
Yeah,
I
Dream
think
is my GOAT center.
You there, Dart?
damn, did you lose me again?
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, but you're back.
Okay. Pierre, you got a question for the panel?
Hey guys, I'm got to bounce. Thanks for having me. I got to get the dog out. He's gonna
Hey, take it easy, bro.
tear the studio down. All right.
All right,
Later, guys.
AOH, we good,
Take it
man.
easy.
Yep.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
All
Pierre,
right.
you got a question for the panel?
Yeah,
Then we got
yeah,
Rampage
listen.
in the back, and then after that, we'll shut
Listen,
down after that.
You know who God is my boy. Dwayne is my man. But there's no way I would put Jokic in the top 10. No way.
I
no.
agree with
And I know you said you didn't put him in the top 10. I know you
I
said
agree.
that. You know,
Yeah.
there's no way
Yeah,
would do that.
I was being hyperbolic.
Now, if he wins another championship and gets the Finals MVP and gets the MVP of the league, I'm gonna put him in the top 20 all time.
Gotcha.
You know, I put him within the top 20, and he's not going over Moses Malone, Dr. J. See, I include Dr. J's ABA State. Sorry, I'm much older than you guys. So, you know, and of course, Akeem. So I'm not putting him over those players, you know. And those three players right now are outside of my top 11. You know what I mean? Those three players I just mentioned. So he's definitely, we're talking 15 to 20. But he doesn't play consistent defense, period. He doesn't stop people, period. He doesn't stop guards from driving. He doesn't play defense one-on-one well, you know, but he is a great player. Do not get me wrong. Smart, but he does not play defense consistently and does not play one-on-one defense well, especially to driving guards. He's too slow. They fly around him. You know what I mean? Am I right? I'm Nick. Am I right or wrong?
I have to watch more games, but yeah, I've seen him be stuck on an island before, and of course he struggles. Right, it's not his strong suit.
Yeah, because I know, Nick, you watch the games intensely. You know what I mean? So that's why I had to put the question to you. I don't even go to Rob, and I know he know the deal. You know what I mean? So, but Dart, that's my point on Jokic. You know, if you're still there.
Oh, I'm here. Is you just wanted to make that comment, or did you have?
Yeah. I just wanted to make the comment about Jokic. That's it.
Okay, we're gonna let Rampage, but thank you for calling in, Pierre, and thank you for your super chats earlier. We're gonna let Rampage on the show, and we'll probably
Sure,
shut
no
it down
problem.
for that. But
Right,
yeah,
man, be good.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Hey, take it easy, bro.
all right, Rampage, welcome.
How you doing, fellas?
What up?
What's going on?
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, you guys keep up the good work. You know what I'm saying? I was started following you guys' channel because I know you guys know, what's his name? Carcino for Life. I think him and Kwame Brown at the time, he was going off because somebody had called him a bust, Steven Jackson, I believe. And, you know, ever since then, you know, I've been following you guys. But I just want to say my piece on something. As you can see, I got my Laker colors on. I've only watched 3 games since LeBron has been a Laker. 3 games.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? And I get into it with a lot of people about it. And I tell them his game is cringeable to watch, man. I cannot watch it. It doesn't excite me. You know, I don't know if anybody in here on the channel is familiar with Dragon Ball Z, but he looked like Raccoon playing basketball from the Ginyu Fort.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
He's Mr. Hercule. That's who he is. He's Mr. Hercule.
Hey, that's even worse. That's even worse. You know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, I have to agree with you guys though. It's the fact when you hold him to the standard, because I do, you know, I've been spoiled by Kobe, You know, the way he worked out and the way he approached the game, and I don't see that with LeBron or anybody on the Lakers for that matter. And truth be told, I'll even go back to even before when they signed him. You don't give up your future, man. You do not give up your future. Like before he got to that team, I compared that team to the 95, 96 Lakers. You know, they were up and down the floor with Cedric Ceballos, Eddie Jones, Van Exel, Vlade Divac. You know, they were pretty exciting to watch. I was like, you know, all they need is a star. If they waited a year or two, then you get Anthony Davis. Then you keep that core around you. The only guys that had big contracts at the time, I think, was Jordan Clarkson and Julius Randle. Okay, you let them go, and then you keep everybody else. You know what I'm saying? This is a young man's league now. That's why the scoring is so high. LeBron's a dinosaur. He can't keep up and down the floor. You know what I'm saying? So, more to the point, like thanks sports and fitness rants, he says it all the time. He's inconsistent. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, everyone here holds him to the standard. What pisses me off the most, don't walk off the floor when there's 2, 3, 4 minutes left in the game. Show respect to the people that beat you. You know what I'm saying? And not even just that. It's you know, you can even see it in Anthony Davis. I believe that's the real reason why he's inconsistent, because he's so busy watching him. You know what I'm saying? And as far as LeBron, this is why I put an asterisk on every accomplishment he gets. You went to Miami, dude. You went to Miami. Everything you've done, it has an asterisk behind it. I can't respect it. You know what I'm saying? I cannot respect it, period. You know what I'm saying? Then you promised Miami you're going to win 8 championships. You went to the finals 4 times, but you only win 2. You know what I'm saying? Make it make sense. You're not that dude, honestly. You know what I'm saying? I don't see the passion from him. You know what I mean? I don't. I can't respect it. You know what I mean? It's as you can see, you can hear the anger in my voice. I just can't stand it. And then, you know, I get into it with people on Facebook sometimes. I was officially done with this current crop of Lakers team when they set out for that game versus Boston this year. Out of all teams, you do not do it against that team. I'm sorry. That historic rivalry, you do not do it. You get your asses on the floor. Excuse me for cussing on your channel. But that's something you don't do, man. And then they win the game anyway. Now look at how they feel. You know what I'm saying? Before I leave, I just want to say this too. There's some old guy that always comes on this channel talking about, oh, please stop talking about LeBron. You know what I'm saying? I think Sports and Fitness Rants always jumps on his case about it. He gonna have to shut his mouth about that, man. Because if you starting your own podcast trying to change your own narrative, then you're paying people to disrespect the people before you. That's like saying I'm gonna pay somebody to disrespect my family tree when they the one that paved my way for me to get here. Make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's all I gotta say, man. It's just, you know, you guys keep playing great. I'm gonna keep following. You know what I'm saying? I get every alert that comes up. I try to watch as many as I can, man. So y'all keep being the GOATs, man, for real. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling in.
Much respect, man.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Before we get going, I'm going to ask the live chat if y'all have any ideas of what you want to hear next week. Hopefully, I'll be able to go on camera. It was supposed to rain where I was at, and I'm in a hotel, so I just left the hotel. But next week, or maybe next time I go live, I'll actually have the camera on. I'm not hiding from anybody. I'm just don't want the camera looking up straight in my double chin. So for how it's oriented. So anyway, but yeah, you know, we'll give you some time to go and say what you if you want to hear us do a specific subject next week. And before we get into that, if you like what anyone had to say during this entire time, please go and subscribe to their channel and put the bell on and all of that sort of stuff, and like the video if you liked all of this, so you can see more of what they have to say. And then just in general, thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for all the participation. Thank you for the callers that called in. That's been great. But yeah, please, if you're in the live chat, put some ideas that you want to see next week in the chat. And then, yeah, do y'all have anything else to say before we start signing off, or you want to talk about real fast?
I think a week from now, we will essentially be like a game or two into the first round after the play-in, I believe. So if that, just to keep that in mind.
I'm going to keep talking about That. Yeah. Pizza Time says put up a survey for topics or suggestions. So I'll do that on my page sometimes, but usually I don't get a lot of traffic on it. But yeah. But yeah, this is the opportunity, especially.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead. Let me go on mute.
Okay. And then Rampage, that guy that you're talking about was Politicus Rex. Has been MIA lately. But anyway, Robin, you have anything to say or any ideas you want to talk about for next week?
No, I think if the fans in the chat have anything to say, if anybody got an idea. I saw my man from self-researched basketball facts. He said something about how about the narrative that more Hall of Famers automatically makes the team better. One of the narratives that the LeBron James fans love to talk about.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that one. Hoop God, you have anything to say or you want to talk about, or you have an idea for next week?
Yeah, I'm still contemplating on what I was going to say earlier. I hate when that happens. Like I'm thinking about it and then something else kind of like intercepts my thought pattern. But when it does come to me, I'm going to definitely send it to you.
All right. Yeah. I thought this was a great show. I feel bad for the situation. I'd like to be on camera but otherwise I think it was a great show either way. But that's just me being self-critical. For the panel, I want to thank you guys for coming yet again. It's always fun. It's always great. Hoop God, you have any last words for everybody?
Hey, chat, we've enjoyed you guys. Hey, y'all come with the fire down there. Hey, follow all these gentlemen, man. They make great content. And I'm just looking forward to the next one and also the up and coming playoffs.
All right, Nick, NMB Sports, you got anything to say?
No, thanks everybody for watching. As always, I try to keep up with the chat and stuff and read what people are saying. But yeah, man, it's fun. Just this is fun to do. So we'll do it next week as well.
All right, Robin, what Timeless Youth? I'm sorry. We're shutting it down. I see you in the backstage, but we're shutting it down right now. I appreciate you trying to call in, though. Robin, what do you have to say to the people?
Yeah, so all my people out there, man, much respect to all you guys. Like I said, I'm truly, truly humble about all the support, guys. So thank you very much for supporting our live streams, for supporting our channels. It really means a lot, guys. Like I said, the true basketball fans. And to all the fools out there in the comments, I've seen some of you guys with your stupid comments. Once again, I dare any of you people who have time for all these comments and negative stuff telling me I don't know ball and I'm a casual and I'm easy work and all this, that. I dare you to put yourself on camera. I dare you. Tag me in a video and call me out. I dare anyone in the chat that thinks they know more about me or more about basketball than I do to tag me in the video, put your face on camera, and let's do it. Make a video about whatever I've talked about that's a lie that doesn't understand. I dare any one of you fools to do it. You guys will never do it because you're a bunch of clowns. You love to talk in the comments. That's it. So shout out to all the real fans once again. Thank you to all you guys out there, man. It was another great show. Thank you, guys.
Oh, Dart, I wanted to say you were talking about Timeless Youth. That's my guy. Y'all are on TikTok. Follow his page. I think he got Instagram too. He makes a lot of those old school joints, like those clips, and like he has like the music in the background playing. So he's a great content creator too, man. So if y'all do have those other platforms, give him a follow on there too.
Awesome. And yeah, if he wants to, if Timeless Youth, if you want to call in next time, yeah, we're just shutting down. So it's just the timing, but you're welcome to call in next time. And then again, for what I was saying for everybody, yeah, thanks for everybody who's participating, who tuned in, who super chatted. And then for everyone who are recent subscribers, everybody, thank you very much. And we'll see you next week and we'll put the topic out. And for everyone, Michael Jordan fans are the best.